What's up, folks? What's going on? This is CEO of MF Seasons and Sauces. And if you're not doing nothing on Sundays at 6 p.m., you gotta check out The Man Cave. I approve this message, and I'm on my way. Check them out every Sunday, 6 p.m. The Man Cave. Yeah.
Until now, the story of what these eyes have seen has never been told. And what these eyes have seen was too much for any child to endure. This little boy wanted what every little boy wanted: to play, to be accepted, and to be with his dad. But what he got was years of abuse, abandonment, and rejection. But with all the uphill battles he had to endure, what grew in him was the strength to stop the abuse from being a family trait, the fortitude to rewrite the laws of fatherhood, and the power to redefine the outcome. Joining us today on The Man Cave is a hero among men, a man who dealt with a lot of pain to shield it from his children, a man who pressed on when others would have given up. Please welcome to The Man Cave, author, playwright, entrepreneur, Mr. Javid Jenkins. Man, welcome to another edition of The Man Cave, where we give our opinion on just about everything. Today we got nothing short but another banger. I want to introduce to the Man Cave audience and family somebody who has been a brother to me, closer than a lot of my family. This brother has just been a confidant. He's been a brother that a support system for me, and he did all that not knowing. I didn't know his background and what he came from until he wrote a book. Welcome to the show, brother Javid Jenkins.
Thank you, man. Listen, bro, I'm gonna tell you something. That introduction almost took me out. You almost came back to an empty chair, man. God, oh, come on. You had to warn me, man. I told you not to warn me, but gosh, come on.
Hey, man, you deserve that. This is what the triumph that you bring, and it's really an encouragement to me. So let's go back just a bit, give people a history. I first met you, I don't even know the year. It was like in the 2010s, 2009s, something like that.
It was 20.
It was what?
It was 08. It was 2008.
Okay, I knew it was around there, 2008. Yeah, that's right, because Obama was running.
Right.
Okay, and so of course, me and you did Christian videos on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
And so since we were the only, peppered colors, you're the only with 2 flies and buttermilk, the 2 chocolate chips on a white cookie.
Right.
We kind of gravitated to each other.
Exactly.
And so, man, over the years, we had this crazy friendship to turn into a brotherhood. And the crazy part is we've never been in the same room together.
We have never met each other personally.
Yeah, right.
We have never shaken hands.
Yeah, but you know all about me. I know all about you, except for this book.
Mm.
This book that you have written, and it is entitled Illegitimate. Let me get it right here. Illegitimate, right here. Illegitimate, redefining the outcome.
Yes, sir.
And so this book, and you sent me the first 4 chapters, Javid, and the stuff that you went through, man, it just blew me away, because it's like, how in the world do you come back from that? I'm like, and as I'm reading, it's like I'm forgetting that this is happening to a little boy.
Right.
And we're going to get into it in deep. I'm just kind of setting the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this stuff, hearing your voice tell it to me in the book, but I'm looking at grown-up Javid.
Right.
Grown-up Javid that would know how to handle this. Grown-up Javid that doesn't walk into stuff, not knowing it was a trap. Mm-hmm. But I had to remember, this is little boy Javid.
Right.
And man, it just blows me away. It blows me away. So Illegitimate, redefining the outcome. And you decided to tell your upbringing story. What made you decide to do that, sir?
Listen, that's a great question, because I've been working on this book for a little over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
The first writing of this book was a glazed over version of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of trying to tell my story, but not expose too much, mm-hmm. because I didn't want to make myself look bad. I didn't want to make my family look bad, and I didn't want to traumatize my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So in that original script, I had made myself a twin. And the narrative of that book was, one twin was named Emerald and the other one was named Teal. So Emerald and Teal Green was their name.
Mm-hmm.
Emerald represented everything that's good about me, and Teal represented everything that was bad about everything else in my life. And one fought to protect the other. So it was a really good story, but I got stuck in it. For some reason, I couldn't move forward. I had probably 20 chapters in that thing done, but I just couldn't move forward with it. And I just let it sit for years. And then mom got sick. And when mom got sick and I turned 50 years old, I decided it was time for me to start telling my truth and talking about what I really went through, and stop hiding the truth about it. Stop making up this fantasy of who my brothers were and my upbringing and all of that. I need to tell the truth to me, to set me free, because I was in a cage in my emotions because of it. So on my 50th birthday, I sat down and I started making Facebook posts telling the truth. And then that turned into the first few chapters of the book. And I worked every single day. For 3 years, trying to get this thing out, reliving it all, and constantly reminding myself, tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth, until you have what we have today.
Wow. And see, I can see, and I'm kind of a visionary, so I can see this being a movie, because it's hard to believe that just one man went through all this as a child, and I'm just kind of like, I can kind of see that going on. So let's go back. Child, let's go back to before let's do pre-Javid.
Got it.
So your mom, who you love dearly, I know, met a guy and she had some sons.
Correct.
But I want you to take it from there.
Okay.
And tell us how we get to Javid.
So all of that is part of why the book is titled what it's titled. Mom got married when she was 18. She had a storybook teenage years. It's in the book, of course, but she was adopted as a baby and was brought into a middle class home. And they gave her everything they could give her to make sure she grew up and would have advantages in life. However, the type of upbringing that my grandmother provided for her was more one of she was being raised to be a wife, being raised to be a mother. not a career person, not a individual that would stand on her own. So her goal in life was to find and marry a man that had a lot going for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she met Gerald. She met Gerald Jenkins,
Mm-hmm.
and she married Gerald at 18. Gerald was he was in the army, and the entire neighborhood was smitten by Gerald because Gerald was his light skinned, smooth haired Creole brother with a
Mm-hmm.
military uniform coming to see little Alice Frazier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, oh, she got her one, you know. And back in the black community, man, back in the day, if you was a young lady, you snagged a preacher, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, or a military man, something like that, you was gold.
Yeah.
So that was her life, you know. She had the ideal situation set up. Now some things, of course, happened that kind of foreshadowed that she wasn't in the ideal situation, but she pressed forward through it
Mm-hmm.
and got married, had 3 sons, and then found out that, hey, this ain't right for me, and I can't stay in this. This
Mm-hmm.
is tearing me up. So she got out of it. She got out of the marriage, came back to the States, and in the middle of her trying to heal from that devastating situation, she met a guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that guy turned out to be my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Neither one of them was ready or should have been talking to one another, but they were.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, and anybody wants to read this crazy story about how my parents got together and created this right here, it's in the book. It's in the book, man. When I tell you it is the messiest Tyler Perry play you could ever think of. Uh, like, bro, first of all, my old man, I get my gift of gab from my father, right?
Okay.
I learned, I didn't learn, I inherited the ability to talk to anybody about anything and be convincing. I got that from him. My
Mm-hmm.
father to this day will go in a room and at his age, he can still just command control of the entire room to this
Mm.
day. So I got that from him. Now you imagine this heartbroken 20-something-year-old young lady with 3 boys and no idea of what to do with her life sitting at a party. And here come this big 6'4" chocolate dark skinned brother strolling through the room with a smooth there you go, that's him right there. Man, you imagine this cat walk in and just start talking to you. And my mom was 4 foot. So you got this 6 foot, no, mom's 5 foot, I'm sorry. 6'4" man standing over this 4 foot woman, spitting sweet nothings in her ear. And boy, when I tell you, he talked her out of everything he wanted and into everything she didn't want.
Mm. Wow.
Man,
Smooth.
listen,
Cue up smooth operator.
smooth. When I tell you smooth,
Yeah.
to this day, Reverend Jackson still smooth. He go down to the VA, he'd pull him if he needed to, if he wanted to. To this day,
So you got now your mom got 4 sons.
4 sons.
4 sons. So I'm your dad's tall, strapping, darker skinned.
Yep.
And her previous sons were shorter, fairer skinned. How did that have an effect on the brotherhood?
So that was the beginning of a lot of my identity issues, my identity crises growing up, because all of my brothers were dark, light skinned and short. You know, fair skinned and short. Fair skinned, very athletic, short, and here I come. You know, long, skinny, darker, and then we talk about summertime. I was 3 shades darker than them. So it would always be who do you belong to? Yeah, look at this picture. I'm standing up. The one in the back is standing on a step. So that gives you an idea how different we are. Um, Everybody's like, well, who do he belong to? You know, well, why y'all look so different? And my brothers would start telling people that I was the milkman's son.
You were
He's
what again?
the milkman's son, the
Oh
milkman.
wow.
You know, back when they used to deliver milk to the house, the whole
Gotcha.
thing,
Yep.
milkman would be stopping by dropping off more than milk at the house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was the milkman's son, and they would treat me as such. I was a redhead stepchild, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They were my half brothers, and they treated me every single day like I was half.
Mm-hmm.
Now my oldest brother was a bit more protective of me than the other two, But for the most part, man, every day was a journey trying to prove that I belong to them or belong
Mhm.
with them. You know,
Yeah.
carrying around this last name is a big part of the narrative in the book.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember that.
you know, I'm Jenkins, but I'm not Jenkins. You know,
Hmm. Right.
so um, so me looking different from them created a problem, identity crisis in me because I have this need for people who are connected to me to look like me.
Hmm.
And so whenever I get with my siblings on my father's side, I'm always looking at our similarities. Whenever I'm
Hmm.
with my children, I'm always looking for ways that we look alike. And
Hmm.
even though my kids look more like their mother than they look like me, I'm
Hmm.
still digging deep into their eyes and into their nose, their
Hmm.
movements to see myself
Hmm.
because I didn't see myself growing up. All I saw was
Hmm.
this milkman's son,
Yeah.
you
So
know.
that stigma just kind of stayed there and just kind of grew with you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
to this day, it's with me, brother. To this day,
really,
to this
wow.
day,
So the title of the book is Illegitimate, but that goes far before you.
it does.
That has a thing that has a little stigma on your mom too, according to the book.
Yes, it does. So mom was adopted. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll save the details of how she ended up adopted for
Okay.
for
Yeah.
readers. However, when she was born, they stamped on her birth certificate the word illegitimate.
Mm,
And for mom, that was so devastating. Whenever she saw it as an adult, she was embarrassed by it. She didn't
mhm,
want people to know. She didn't want people to see it. She didn't want people to even read it to the point that she would throw her birth certificate away. Anytime she had
mhm,
a birth certificate, she'd throw it away. If
mhm,
you didn't need it, you were never going to see her birth certificate.
mhm,
And I knew this because she told me about it. It would make her physically ill, but I had never seen the birth certificate myself until I had to hunt it down so that I could take care of her business as her caregiver.
mhm,
And I finally got the darn birth certificate, and there it was,
mhm,
sitting right there on the original form. It says illegitimate.
mhm,
And one of the biggest things that she was concerned about was never having any children out of wedlock.
mhm,
So that's why she stayed in the marriage because she felt like at least my children have legitimacy. And that's
mhm.
why she gave me the last name Jenkins because she did not want people to know that I was illegitimate. So
Gotcha.
her greatest fear was realized when she and my father got together, an illegitimate child, a
Mhm,
bastard child. So when I start telling people the title of my book and I start saying I'm a redefined bastard, people don't like hearing those words. So they, oh,
mhm,
don't call yourself that. You're not illegitimate. You're a legitimate person. Let me tell my story.
mhm,
Let me explain to you the label that I have that I had to fix and change and
yeah,
mold to something better. So
mhm,
it's a process. So I'm not ashamed that I'm a bastard child. I'm not
mhm,
ashamed that I was born illegitimate
mhm,
because of what I did with this illegitimacy and with this stigma. Because you
mhm.
and I both know, man, back when my mom was growing up, bastard kids, they were treated like bastards.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you didn't get no land, you didn't get no titles,
Mhm.
you got
Yep,
no
yep.
inheritance. You were lucky if you could carry the last name.
Mhm, mhm,
So we've just gotten to the point in our society where being born out of wedlock is okay,
mhm.
and
It's
that's
almost normal. Almost
yeah,
normal.
it's
Go.
almost normal. But
Mhm.
that informed me to the point where I made damn sure I was never going to have a child out of wedlock
Yes,
ever.
yes, yes.
So my first son and all of my children after him, all in wedlock. And
Mhm.
going through college and all that kind of stuff, um, I tried to make sure I was doing what I had to do to keep things right and protected.
Yeah, yeah. And see that you can see by you saying that how much your childhood really kind of scrappled around your adulthood.
Yeah, it
I
did.
mean, because you were trying to really not duplicate, really not make this a family heirloom, really
Exactly.
not make this go into the new generation of
Exactly.
Jenkinses.
Hmm.
And you could see, well, I know you for quite a number of years, and I've known every every time we come across each other, you had like 5 and 6 hats on and
Yeah.
doing it at a tremendously high level
Mm.
because your mission was my family is it. I'm
That's
never going to make my family look at me the way I had to look at other people.
Agree. That's
So
it.
let me ask you this. So your brothers,
Mhm.
did they have relationships with their dad?
The relationship they had with their father was they had a better relationship with their father than I had with mine. When I say better, I mean more connection,
Mm-hmm.
because he would come around a little bit more often than mine would.
Mm-hmm.
And mom was the type of mother where if you want to come see your kids, come see your kids. You ain't gotta, please me or make me happy to come see your children. Just come see them. You want to take them, you can.
Mm-hmm.
But she was also the type, take your brother with you. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up going with them with their father a lot.
Okay.
And that also created a negative dynamic. I didn't even write this in the book, but he didn't like me much.
Mm.
He
Oh
didn't
wow.
like me. I mean, look at who I am. I'm the child his wife had after him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm walking around with his last name. So
Mm-hmm.
he used to tell me all the time, "Shut up, you talk too much," because
Mm-hmm.
he didn't want to hear me speak. But I would
Hmm.
spend weekends at his house with my brothers. So now I got three that don't like me plus him, and it's just
Wow.
one of them things. And it's little things. I didn't write everything in the book because it started feeling like I'm making up stuff, because I got this fantastical life, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want people looking like, nigga lying, it ain't happened. Nah, now you just trauma dumping. Oh, now every little thing that went on is a problem. You was abused, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all the combination of all of these things heaped on
Mm-hmm.
every single day as a child that
Yeah.
created the overall narrative. So one
Right.
thing, for example, when I would go with them with their father,
Mm-hmm.
he would take us out to breakfast. He used to always go to Denny's, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
would play that prank where they would unscrew the salt top
Oh, and you
on
it
me. So
all.
I go to put
Yeah.
the salt on my food, and all the salt fall out. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of him getting mad at them, he'd get mad at me. And then he wouldn't buy me any other food. I'd have to wait till I got home to eat.
Wow.
So these are all things that, like, we get home. I told mom, she's like, "Why didn't you eat?" Well, they messed up my food. She fussed at him, and then she fussed at him. "Why didn't you feed the baby?" He's like, "It ain't my baby. Why I got to feed him?" So she's
Oh.
right. So it's that kind of stuff. So she would stop sending me because of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just like, okay, you get to stay home, and we got to go. And now I'm underneath my grandmother, which you read those chapters about my grandmother. We'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
that later.
Right.
But
Right. Right. Right.
but yeah, so they had a better connection with their father, but I would say they had a better relationship. You
I
know,
see. I
because even
see.
even though I didn't see my dad much, we still had a better connection,
Mm-hmm.
better relationship. We were able to talk more than I
Mm-hmm.
saw talk to their dad.
Yeah. Well, see that, and see, I want to inform people that once you start reading the books, because Javid is not even, he's just skimming the surface of the abuse. And when
Right.
you start reading the book, it's like, God, dog, the stuff that he's talking about is just kind of the surface.
This
'Cause
30,000 feet. We ain't got in the weeds yet.
no, not at all. Because I'm trying not to even go there. But one of the things I thought was interesting, and I just said it a minute ago, but I just want your words on it. I saw you on the Marsha Warfield podcast.
Yes, sir. That's my
And
girl.
yeah, man, when she was on the Richard Pryor show, I had the biggest crush on her because she was just fine with them lips. But anyway,
Listen,
uh,
it's still fine. It smells good.
and I just like how calm and how she take her time when she talk. That's
Mhm.
always been attractive to me. I ain't never been attracted to loud women. But anyway, I saw you on the show,
Mhm.
and you said something so profound. And I'm gonna try to remember to get into this
Okay.
after you answer this question. But our lives are so incredibly similar. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make it about me, but a lot of stuff you're saying, I could write your book and put
Yeah.
my little 5th grade picture on the cover, and it'd be
Mhm.
almost the same thing. But you said when you start having children, you made a decision early that what?
They wouldn't have to wonder where I was.
Bam,
They
man,
wouldn't
that
have to wonder where I am.
mm-hmm. See,
Like, go ahead.
and how did you come up? How did you begin to make that decision for yourself?
That started with my father, man. It started with me not knowing what my dad was. You know, when I was a kid and I'm sitting on the porch waiting on him to show up, or just watching other people with their fathers interact and not knowing where my father is. I can't pick up a phone and call my father. I couldn't jump on a bus and go to where he is. I
Yeah.
don't know where he is because my dad was a bit of a like the song Rolling Stone. Papa was a Rolling Stone. It bothered me because that was my dad. You know, it was my father. Um, he was always moving around. My mother used to say never write his phone number down in pen because you're gonna have to erase it because he's gonna get
Wow.
a new number. So I didn't know where he was. I would go to sleep at night not knowing where my dad was. I would go to school and parents come to school. I didn't know. I cannot remember a moment when my father came to my school when I was in grammar school. Uh,
Yes.
I can think of two football games that my father saw me play.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of two. There may have been more, but I can only think of two. So
Mm-hmm.
again, going into my parenting as a father, I made up my mind. My kids will never have to wonder where I
Mm-hmm.
am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to either be right down the hallway or right on the other end of this phone.
Yes.
And if you call me, I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter right now, I just got through dropping her off at school. If she called me right now and said something, I'd be like, bro, peace out. I gotta go. You know,
Yes.
I wanted to be the father for my children that I never had.
Never had. Man.
And I wanted to be the kind of father that they could look at and be proud of. I'm sorry, I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
a little emotional. To be proud of because I didn't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Let me get to these comments, man. Just give you a time to drop them tears because look, it's like you telling me my story. Uh Marita Howard Lark, she said, "Hey, Javid."
Hey,
Uh,
Marita.
Eugene says, "Hey, what's up, brother Jenkins?" Now, the Travises, they recognize me by doing your haberdashery video. Remember
Yeah,
that
because
back
yeah,
the Lucy
yeah,
show?
they were in the show. They were also
Oh,
in the
okay,
show.
okay, okay. Yeah. But I'm surprised they recognize me. But Taking Flight says, "So excited for this conversation. Congratulations on your book, Mr. Jenkins."
I don't know who Taking Flight is, but thank you so much.
She said, "This is Aaliyah. She's an author as well, and
Okay.
she was on our show late last year.
Awesome.
What's up, Aaliyah?"
Thank you,
Uh,
Aaliyah.
Georgette Collins says she admires you, sir.
That's great people. Great people.
Faith in Him says, "Amen. God bless you. It takes God's strength and a conscientious decision to break generational curses and chains." Yeah. And let's see, I can't pronounce this name.
That's
Opinionated.
opinionated.
I
Opinionated.
can't wait to read it.
That's my
Uh,
brother Antoine. Good people.
oh, okay. And this is actually Aaliyah who was
Got it.
taking flight. She says, "I want to be the father for my children that I never had." Wow. Yeah. So let me just say, this is why I got so deep into the book. I knew where my father was,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not making about me. Just a little comparison. I knew where my father was, and I could contact him, but when I needed him for bullies, when I needed him for advice for girls, when I actually needed him,
Mm-hmm.
I I needed him, and I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
how you just reach out.
See, people don't understand that in a boy, the
Yes,
need of a father,
yes,
and people don't understand that daddy issues are created because I need something I can't get.
yes,
Now I'm mad that I can't get it.
yes,
I needed my
yes,
father, and I know where you're going. I needed my father to protect me, and he wasn't there to do it.
yes. And I didn't have the protection from siblings. But go ahead, go ahead.
I wanted him to come get me and get me out of there, man. I
Mhm.
wanted it to, but the little bit of time that we did have together, I didn't
Mhm.
want to ruin it by telling him this is what's happening with me.
Yes,
So I
yeah.
held, I packed it in.
Mhm.
Now, It's it's this is where I am with this book because I don't need my father no more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want my father,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't need him
Mm-hmm.
because my kids need me, and they can't have me like they need me if I'm broken up over needing
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
So that healing happened. That healing had to happen in order for me to be the father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In order for me to be the thing that I chased,
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
stop chasing it and become it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, listen.
It's deep. It's deep, ain't it, Javid? And and when you get older as a man, to try to convey this to people, they think you coming off as soft, and they think you coming off as a punk, and oh man, you grown now, you can get over that. No, listen, I had a deep void
Mm-hmm.
that can only be filled in by one man. And when he misses these several decades of opportunity, a lot of people turn to drugs, a lot of people turn to some things to fill that gap, or they'll make hip hop their dad, or they'll make some dude on the street their dad figure. But for guys like me and you who never put anybody in that spot but our dads, it has a thing that comes out when you have children. I'm gonna tell you, Will Smith said it best when he Just the Two of Us song, when he was like 2 miles an hour, driving home with this baby, y'all, everybody got to go around. I was the same way. I'm doing 2 miles an hour. They blowing at me. I got my baby in the car. You Negroes better go around. So it creates a thing.
Because
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
It creates this thing where it's either going to destroy you or you become what you never had for your children. Now here I am. I have 2 sons, and I was almost going to jail arguing with a divorce court judge that I am taking care of my kids. I don't care what the stigma that you're talking about, that black men don't take care of the kids. I'm taking care of my kids. There's no way in the world that I should be thrown in this corrupt child support system, paying this much money when they live with me. And I was telling her to her face, risking going to jail because I didn't have it. And I didn't want my sons to have to go through that ever again. So when you talk, when I read those 4 chapters, I was like, I could see where this is going. And for me and you, there was this thing where you said, skip it. This is where it ends. It ends with me. I'm the last person in this family that's going to have to deal with this.
Right there.
That's what I admire about you so much in this book.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I kind of took it.
No, that's cool. That's it right there, bro. In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the things, man, is like you're witnessing this now first time. A lot of people that know me don't see what's back here. Don't see what created who I am. All they see is what I put forth in public. And it's like, a lot of people were like, oh, your brothers were cool. Your brothers were athletic. They were funny. They were this, they were that, they were the other, but they didn't see the other part. But then there were some that did, some that know. There were some that were victims of my brothers as well. And when I started writing this, they started coming to me like, yo, let me tell you something. Yeah, I had some issues with them too. And I, quite a few people have reached out to me since I started writing this book to tell me that they had situations with my brothers as well. And that just reinforced what I was saying and let me know that I wasn't going crazy, and let me know that I wasn't making things up. It let me know that what I remembered was real. And then it also let me know that I was on the right path. But there's a brother watching right now, brother beloved. His name is Eugene Goldsmith. He commented, of everybody that's watching right now and everybody that has commented, he is one of the people that saw all of this firsthand.
Oh, wow.
Firsthand, because he was friends with me, friends with my brothers, and he was more in tune than most folks. So he was able to kind of look and kind of diagnose like, oh, something ain't right, but he was a kid at the time too, so he wasn't able to do nothing but,
Hmm.
but watch. But he saw everything from my brothers doing they do, me doing mine, me growing up, me being a father, husband, businessman, every level of it. He's seen it all. So
Hmm.
the reason I bring him up is because I know one person that can open this book up and read it and give it a rubber stamp and say he ain't lying.
Mm.
Because
And that's
some
Brother
people,
Eugene.
some people gonna say, "Oh, he's just making it up." They dead. They can't speak for themselves.
Mhm.
He waited till his mama died to write the book, so she can't say whether it was true or not. Ask Goldie, Eugene
Mm.
Goldsmith. He's seen it all. All I got to do is just sit back and say, "Hey, bro, you look at that. You tell me where I'm lying." And this brother is full of integrity. He ain't gonna lie for nobody. He's a
Yeah.
retired police officer. He ain't lying for nobody.
Wow.
He lying for nobody. You're like, no, he telling the God's honest truth. Everything that he said happened.
Wow. Man,
Every bit.
I got to get this book because I'm only 4 chapters in, and because I got to see okay, we're gonna get in the second half of the show on
Okay.
how the all that grew into what we're looking at today. This shining young prince, as they say in the Malcolm X movie, with a beautiful wife, beautiful children, and everybody's doing well. But let's
Yeah.
get to these comments real quick. Demarius Blackwell says, Papa Jenkins.
We have to stop. We have to stop. Damaris is one of my adopted daughters, basically.
Okay.
Damaris was working in the Jewel Food as a cashier. And I would stop in Jewel almost every night to get something to eat, some, fruit and whatever. And she was always there working.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started calling her daughter. You know how old church cats, we all call everybody daughter, mother, brother, whatever. So I started calling her daughter, and she started calling me dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so ever since then, she has gotten married. She's got her own children, got her own family. I'm very proud of her. So I'm thankful that she's here watching tonight.
Well,
So
welcome.
I got some other kids outside of my own kids.
Welcome, Mr. Maris. Nice to have you at the Man Cave. Nicole Anderson says, Javid is my extremely brave friend. I love him real bad.
That's my girl. That's my girl, Nikki. Boy, listen. Just keep it going. Keep going. I can talk about every one of these people. Go ahead.
Charletta Flowers or Charletta Flowers says, Javid, I am so proud of you and your accomplishments. I can't wait to read your book. You are such an awesome vessel, and I love the father that you are.
That's my boo. We went to high school together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good girl.
Christine Brown said, I am godly proud of you, Javid. I'm sure that this is the time where your story will be the healing to others that share your experience. Amen. Congratulations to you. Be prosperous and do well.
Good people, man. Christine Brown, good people. She and her husband, good people.
Miss Marita Lark says, Javid, I know you don't need me to tell you this, but you're awesome. But you are awesome. I look forward to reading your book. Congratulations.
Thank
Kim
you, Marita.
Carter Mill said it's real. She was talking about that dang, she said it, and I forgot that point where she said
that's the one. That's one of the people that reached out to me and told me, yeah, I had some problems with your brothers.
Oh, got you.
She another one that saw it all.
Yeah, really. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And your boy Eugene said, absolutely speaking your truth. Absolutely. The Travis said, we can't wait to read your book. Being our brothers so long, we have heard a lot of these stories, but nothing like reading it all. Like Aaron said it will.
Now,
I'm telling you.
Can you leave them up for a second?
Yes.
So the Travises were members of my church when I was pastor.
Okay.
When I met them, they were dating. And I like to always tell this story because when I met them, he had a cast on his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And he got that cast because some stuff was going on. He punched through something and messed his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to our church and she joined church and he joined church and they got active and got involved. They brought the children. And then I actually married them. I performed their wedding ceremony. Um, and they are one of the many couples that I married that are still together. And they are a great example of husband and wife. You look at that picture right there, that's them all day long. That's them all day long. And so I'm very proud of the Travises. I'm very proud of who they are, what they've become, and what they've overcome as well.
Amen. All right, Mr. Travises. Marita says, Javid, I know you don't. Oh, she just corrected her
Okay.
previous post.
Appreciate you.
Shay Jackson said, congratulations, Javid L. Jenkins. I admire your strength. I can't wait to order my copy. Let's just tell them how can they get it?
Okay, so Shay is my real blood niece. That's my brother's daughter, my brother on my father's side daughter.
Okay.
Beautiful family, beautiful creative person. Love her. So the book, for those of you who are wondering, the book is currently at the halfway point with the editor. I had to fire an editor before this one because she kept trying to rob my voice. Some of the things that you read, I'm just gonna say it like it is. A white woman editor cannot edit a black man's book. You cannot. She had it, and she was trying to. I want to say she was trying to round off my edges, and she was trying to take so much out of the book, And I kept going back with her back and forth. I'm like, we can't do this, so I had to fire her. This book was supposed to be done so that I could release it in 2024, but I had to fire her and find a new editor. So I found a new editor. I got a black woman who understands the voice of black men, and so she's editing it. She's at the halfway point. Our goal is to have it completely edited by the end of this month. And so pre-orders can start mid-February. So if we can do pre-sales in mid-February, we can do a release in March, an actual release in March. It'll be available on Amazon, and it'll be available on other self-publishing sites that you can get it from. But when that time comes, I promise you all, promise you, you will hear. I'm a marketing madman, so the links will be everywhere. You will have plenty of time to. You will have plenty of time to know where, when to get it. I just want you all to just, when I drop that link, click and buy immediately, so that we can get on the Amazon bestsellers list. And if I get on the Amazon bestsellers list, which is 100 sales within the first week or something like that, which I'm sure we can do, it'll get marketed to other people who are on Amazon. So I'm going to be counting on you guys to get this book. We're going to do a big release party. We're going to do something very similar to what we're doing now, where I'm going to sit down and answer questions. And so it's going to be great.
I'm going to make sure, I'm going to try my best to try to make it out to Chi-Town.
This one we got to meet, brother. This one we got to meet.
Man. That'll be the greatest ever. And I'm coming like this. You know that, right?
You do what you want to, bro. You can do what you want to. I got no dog in that fight right now. Let me get a team that's decent, but then we can talk about.
Okay. So let's two other areas I want to talk about. Briefly skim before we start talking about all this turnaround and how you have always had a business. You've always had a game plan. You always had a plan FGH, because it's like, to me, and this is what I get without you even saying it, I cannot let my family down.
No.
So you have always had one or two things in a row. And I'm surprised how you sleep, brother. But anyway, you describe a person in the book as step monster. Now look, you had to deal with hate coming from three brothers. You had to deal with hate coming from the three brothers' fathers. You had to deal with not seeing your dad the way you wanted to, but then when you did, you had to deal with step monster. and to kind of give people a little bit of a skim about how step monster was. Here's a passage from the book that says, 4 years had passed since I had been to my father's house. I was barely in the door when his wife stepped out of her room and shouted, "What's he doing here? Where's his mother?" The next thing I knew, my dad and I were in his car heading back to Chicago. So you can't catch a break. And again, this is not big Javid dealing with this. This is little boy Javid dealing with this.
The kid, 10 years
All
old.
this rejection.
12 years old, yeah.
So how is little Javid coping, dealing, sorting this out?
Man, that's a really good question. How did I sort that through? So at the time, I was definitely afraid of her, ridiculously afraid of her. She had a look about her that just frightened me. You know, she always had this mean look on her face, with her eyes always felt like they were just red or yellow, you know, just burning a hole into me.
Yeah.
Now, if any of my siblings are watching, my brothers from my father's side, if they're watching, they will attest to this. She was the type of person that felt like our father was not able to love her and love his kids at the same time.
Wow.
She couldn't differentiate the difference between a father's love for his kids and a father's love for his wife. And because of that, she did whatever she could to kind of drive a wedge in between those relationships. Again, trying not to give away or talk too much about it because I want folks to read it. Just know that there was a moment where she tried to tell my mother what she needed to do with me. And if anybody that know Alice P. Jenkins know that ain't nobody telling her nothing about her children.
Right.
And my mother told her in so many words, she said, "This ain't got nothing to do with you. This is between me and his father." And she, stepmom replied, "Well, this is my husband." And my mother said, "Honey, he's only your husband because I didn't want him." And when people read the book, they'll see how that transpired. They'll see how that Mom was, you know, she was vicious with that tongue, bro. She'd go off. And so she told her, "You're like, this ain't got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Between me and his father. Well, this is my husband." "Well, honey, he's only your husband because I ain't want him. So you can go sit in the car while I talk to Leroy about my son." So she and my dad had a talk. Stepmonster went and sat in the car, and I'm not saying her name because I don't want her coming up trying to sue me.
Gotcha.
Went and sat in the car. She told my father, "You know, you protect your son from your wife, and he can keep coming. But if you don't, then he can't keep coming."
Yeah.
So the next time I went to my father's house was from that passage you just read.
Wow.
So her interaction with me was, what is he doing here? And where's his mother so I can kick her out of my house?
Wow.
And so dad was like, "You know, I can bring my son to come stay with me if I want." And then she went in on him about that. And then he picked up and left and took me with him. A lot of my father's absenteeism, and I'm old enough and grown enough to admit this, was due to trying to keep peace in his house also.
I got you.
So before they got married, that was all on him. That was him, his bottle, and everything else that was going on with him. But after they got married, it was also him trying to keep peace in his home.
Yes.
Because yes, I'm your son, but every time your son or one of your other sons or your daughters come around, she freak out.
Yeah.
You gotta live with her. We don't. So I'm grown enough to recognize that a lot of his absenteeism was because of that. However, at the time, you asked me what did 12-year-old Javid respond to that was. His response to that was, my response was, "Daddy, why don't you fight for me?
Yes.
Why don't you come get me? Why don't you make her stop? Why don't you just tell her to shut up?"
Yes.
And I didn't understand then, and he couldn't. He could, but he couldn't. If that makes sense.
It does. Perfect.
He's trying to keep peace in his home. I understand that. You know. So at the end of the day, we all learned that she was making it uncomfortable for us to get to him so that we would stop trying to get to him.
Yeah.
And what I ended up doing was I would play her game so that I could get to him.
Let's leave it right there, though. Let's leave it right there,
Okay.
because the book, us talking about it doesn't give it justice how you talk about it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I want to get to before we get to all the success stuff is this 10-year curse that you said that you beat. I don't want to call it that, but it was a confirmation in your life that it stops with you. Can you go into that a little bit?
So again, a lot of stuff that I've done in my life has always been motivated by the prospect or the idea of proving that I'm better than my brothers,
Mm-hmm.
proving that I'm not like them, proving that I'm not cut from the same cloth as them. Some people feared them because of things that they did to people. So by connection, they kind of feared me in the same way. I needed people to know, that's not me. I am not going to abuse you. I'm not going to assault you. I'm not going to do that. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
You are safe with me. So everything, it was a way of distancing myself from them.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1994, my oldest brother died. And all of this is in the book in great detail. My oldest brother died in 1994. And I watched my mother go through probably one of the saddest moments in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think about it then until 2004 came around and the next brother died. And I had to watch my mother go through the next saddest moment in her life. I'm like, goodness gracious. So the next brother, I'm like, well, he wilding out. He probably going to be gone too, but he kind of lucky. So he might outlive us all. Just honestly, kind of life that he had. He might outlive us all.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even think much about it until June of 2014 came, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from mom, like, you need to come over here. Something ain't right. And as I'm over here checking on him, he's gone. Call the ambulance. They're going out. I watch my mom again go into another worst moment of her life. I started looking at the dates, and I'm like, goodness gracious, they gone. Every one of them died 10 years apart from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them, 94, 04, 14. So right away, my mind started saying, you got to live beyond 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, my mind was saying, I cannot die and let my mother see another one of her children die.
Yeah.
So those two things became motivation for me, like to get healthy and to live right and all that kind of stuff. Try to make sure I'm not doing nothing stupid, because all three of their deaths could have been avoided. It wasn't like it was just something that snuck up on them. All three could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was when the clock struck 12 on New Year's and I got into 2025. I really felt like a weight lifted off of me. Because I felt like I was in Final Destination, man. Every time I'm riding behind the truck, I'm like, bro, let me get out from behind this truck because I don't want nothing stupid to happen. Eating slow, make sure I don't choke on nothing. Making sure my meal, if I'm getting my sleep right, if I feel something going wrong in the back or my chest getting tight, I'm I'm constantly on game trying to make sure I don't go out here, right? And a lot of people, they talk crazy about living in fear and you shouldn't do that. Well, that's not what God has for you. God has a plan. And I retort with, so you mean God's plan was for my brothers to die 10 years apart and watch my mother decline mentally because of all of the damage and stress from those deaths? You mean that was God's plan? So I kind of reject that whole God has a plan thing, because he does have a plan, but I do not believe that his plan was for these three guys to die. And that to affect my mother so severely that she would go into a depression to the point where it would then start spiraling into dementia. I don't believe that's God's plan. So I have to push back when people say that and just let people know, let me live in my narrative. My narrative is I had three abusive brothers. All of them died 3 years apart from each other. And I lived a good portion of my life trying to prove that I was better than them. I have outlived them. I have outperformed them. I have survived them. And at the end of the day, my worst day is better than their best day.
Wow. Wow.
So when you get to the next question about how I became successful as a businessman and an entrepreneur, that was my fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my fire, to be better than them. But the name of my business was Getting Better.
Mm-hmm.
The better was an acronym: breaking every tie that endangers reality.
Wow.
That was an acronym: breaking every tie that endangers reality.
Wow.
Every step, every push up, every business meeting, every client. When I had 70 people standing in front of me in one boot camp class where people were saying, well, he's a 300-pound trainer. He ain't even good enough. I was one of the best personal trainers in the city of Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
the whole city of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big place.
Yeah.
I started that fitness business. I said I wanted my name to be mentioned next to the best in this city.
Mm-hmm.
And you would be hard pressed between the years of 2012 and 2019
Mm-hmm.
to find another fitness trainer or business that was doing it like I was doing it.
Wow.
You would be hard pressed, and I stand on that.
Yeah.
I know a couple of cats that are doing it, but what nobody doing it like I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can go on the internet right now, type in Getting Better Fitness, Mr. GBF, the
Yep.
marketing, the
Yep.
the creativity, the ability to be the product, the
Yep.
ability to reach people who are previously unreachable.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, the only thing I didn't have going for me when I was running that fitness business was a lot of money to further market myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you, I am proud of the way that business went.
Mm-hmm.
So proud, because at the end of the day, I wished that my brothers were all still alive so they could look and see what I became.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish that they were still alive so they could see that despite what you did, despite how you did it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I am stronger. I
Mm-hmm.
am better. I
Mm-hmm.
am faster
Yes.
than I used to be. See,
Mm-hmm.
people come to the gym. They're like, when I teach them that chant, I'm better than I used to be. I'm stronger than I used to be. I'm faster than I used to be. They think I'm giving them something for their life. I'm giving them something out of my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Brother, when I tell you, and when I tell you that achievement for me was a drug
Mm-hmm.
to shake in the face of my brothers who said I'd never be.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
When
man.
I first started my business, when I first started my gym, the last brother to die, he said, well, it ain't gonna last because you don't know what you're doing. I said, okay,
Really?
okay. No, watch this. No, watch this. And I'll give away a part of the book. I'll give away a part of the book on this one.
Don't do it. Don't
No,
do it.
no, no, no. This is good. This is good. I'll give away a part of the book on this one. My man, you got to understand. You was playing checkers with me as a kid. You were playing checkers with me. You were
Mm-hmm.
beating me down in checkers, but I was learning how to play chess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at my one brother, the last one to die, the one that could never, ever compliment me on anything,
Mm-hmm.
ever, ever. I won a city championship with my football team. Oh, that's only because y'all did X, Y, and Z. I won a distinction in the church. Oh, that's only because you were doing this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time I achieved something, he would knock it down and say it's only because X, Y, and Z. Never was able to tell me, man, I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
Never ever able to do that.
Wow.
So
Wow.
when I got older and I saw the pattern and the writing on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I did? I took out an insurance policy
On
on him.
you did. Wow.
And you know what I did?
What?
When he died, I used that money and invested into my gym.
Javid, you're a bad boy, man. You're a bad boy, man.
Look, let me tell you something. I had a $25,000 insurance policy on that man. And I said, when he go, it's gonna be all right. He went. I gave my mother $5,000. I put the rest in the gym.
Wow. Seriously.
So when people go to 76th Street, the walls, the paint, the floor, all of that, I took the money from a policy that I earned, that I had off of one of my abusers and invested it into my future.
Wow, man, that's
Man, don't play with me.
and I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to.
Don't play with me.
Travis says you always gonna be petty.
Darth Petty in the house. You got there right. And the Travises, they are friends with that brother's son.
Really?
That's how I met them through that brother's son. Yeah, in a way, yes.
Yeah, but so that brings up an interesting question. But I'm gonna try to cram this in because we actually all
oh man,
the code said cold, and I love it. But look, do you think that you got nieces and nephews that may be upset?
Be upset about what?
Telling us about their dads.
The worst brother, his children already know.
Okay.
His children already know. I actually talked to them about it. So they saw some stuff in their life too. So this is their story to tell. So I'm not going to do that. Gotcha. They already know. So anything that I say about their father is probably not going to be a shock to them.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest brother, I have not been able to get in touch with any of his. Well, he only had one daughter, so I haven't been able to get in touch with his daughter. I've been trying to. I was trying to get in touch with her to tell her that mom passed away, but every means of communication I had, I can't get in touch with.
Okay.
And then the other one, the last one that died, who knows? Mm-hmm. he got his own demons and things he got to deal with. So
yeah. Well, so I'm trying to find an entry point to wrap, but we already over an hour. This show is supposed to just be an hour. But no, dude, I don't extend my show for just about everybody, but you, yes. Marita says, I can vouch for that. You are the best fitness trainer ever. Better, stronger, faster. I miss and need that again so much in my life right now. And Eugene says, can't be upset about Javid speaking his truth. Yeah. And you know what? I even was involved in GBF. One of the things about you, Javid, is that you share the wealth, man. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite people was, it.
Yep.
Casita Razor.
Casita Razor, baby.
I loved Casita Razor. And when I found out she passed away, I was brokenhearted, and she don't even know who I am. I was blessed enough to do a theme music for you and Casita's little interactions.
Yeah, you did. And it was perfect. Perfect.
If anybody remember that, that's me doing that voice. But Javid shares the wealth on every level that he goes. And he's like, hey, brother, can you do this for me? I'm like, heck yeah. Because, like you said, you're the master of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can understand you got so many hats that you can't do it. But I was like, heck yeah. How can I help this brother shine? Because you never leave anybody out, man. I appreciate
that. I have tried to do that with everything, success wise and financial wise. Financially, if I had been a little bit more cutthroat financially,
mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't even. When I retired, I probably wouldn't even have to do no other job. I could have just sit on back and chill for good long time. Yeah. But I left a lot of money on the table, man. When I was working in fitness, between giving other trainers a leg up and giving them an opportunity to grow, mm-hmm. and training people for free, I left a lot of money on the table, man, because it was more about giving back and seeing people get better than it was about earning. And mm-hmm. so, like you said, I try to share it and try to spread the wealth. And if I'm blessed, then everybody's blessed. It's like Joseph in the Bible. I have something going on with my hands. And they're, when I put my hands on something, they turn into, whatever I touch is going to work. Mm-hmm. And I want everybody to achieve from that. I want everybody to eat off of that. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Nicole said, so now I know that your brother funded me to come to GBF. I wasn't working, and Javid told me to come anyway. Javid doesn't know that, but I was in a very dark place mentally. He and my circle saved me. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And see, wow, man, you never know how much. See, this book is really bringing some things to earth that needs to be told. You know, I'm sure you didn't even know how much you meant to Nicole during that time.
I got a clue, but I ain't never heard that before.
Yeah. So look, man, I hate to wrap this up, but let me end by saying this. Javid, out of all the stuff that he's been through, all of the childhood stuff, all the lack of seeing his father, all the stuff about his stepmother tripping, turned it around and started making it like none of his kids will ever feel like he felt. But at the same time, Javid has always had 1 to 3 to 5 businesses going at one time. Ever since I know Javid, he was a Affleck salesman. He was he owned a fitness center for 10 years. He opened up a what do you call that place where you get your frustrations out and start breaking stuff?
Rage room.
Yes, of which he asked me to help him with a commercial. You are a pastor. We didn't get to the pastor stuff, but wait till you read in the book how the pastor stuff comes in.
Yeah, baby.
yeah. So
wait until.
Yeah. So that, and man, you're just such a positive motivation force in my life, to quote the Isley brothers. So I just want to let you know, man, I'm proud of you. I love you. I really appreciate you being my brother. And I'm just so glad. I hope this book makes it so you don't have to extend any energy working again, brother, because this book is not only really kind of freeing you, but I think it's going to free you financially too.
I received that. I received that, brother.
Yes, because this is a tale. And I think there's a lot of men going through this that don't know how to handle this. And they're grown now. Mm-hmm. And they need to process this and to see a shining example of how to get through it. That's this is what they need. Again, Illegitimate, the Redefining the Outcome by Javid L. Jenkins is in final stages of editing. It will be available on Amazon, and it will be available for pre-order come February.
Yes.
Mr. Javid, you got any final words for your audience, sir?
To everybody that has followed me from the beginning, thank you so much. I tell my stories and I try to laugh about certain things, and y'all think I be making stuff up. But listen, I got a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of stories in my head, and I can't wait to share them all with you all. This book is just the beginning. And I want to thank Aaron for allowing me to have access on this platform. You've always been a brother to love, and I can't wait to meet you. And I can't wait to sign some books for you guys. And I can't wait for you to read the book and tell me what you think.
Amen. Finally, Javid, let people know how they can contact you.
You can hit me up on Facebook, or you can call me, text me 773-419-0823. I've had the same number for 21 years. So it ain't never going to change. It is all over the internet. Text me if you want me to come speak. I'll be happy to speak. If you have a podcast, I'd love to come talk. But please, contact me, hit me up on Facebook, or reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to help you, either figure out your purpose or show you how to get a part of mine.
There you have it, coming from the man who has went through pain so his family won't experience the same. Javid Jenkins, I want to say I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the Man Cave for the first time, because there will be a next time.
Thank you, brother.
All right, sir.
You've been a blessing, man. You've been a blessing. I know you're trying to sign out, but I got one thing I want to say about you that touches me as a father. You had your son out there cleaning up leaves one time, and he turned around and you asked him what's his problem. He said, "Because you were always there."
Yes.
And I don't think he understood how profound that was.
Yes.
To be able to turn around when you frustrated and see that your father is always there. Yeah. Man, I shouted. Boy, I shouted. So thank you for that, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, man. All right, everybody. We're coming back next week, and you ain't gonna believe the guests we got next week, but I'm gonna save it. Until then, be kind to people, because you never know what they're going through. Check you out on the next edition of the Man Cave.
God bless y'all. Thank you so much.